I mean, we saw this last year when Bitcoin was hitting 60,000, 69,000. And this is the thing. The problem is in that kind of, unfortunately, most people are not skilled in protecting themselves against risk. And people bought at the worst time last year, like when it was over 50 to 69,000. A lot of people were buying. Now that's okay. The problem is most of these people don't care about, well, what if they're wrong and price goes against them? They have no stop loss. They have no risk protection, which means that a lot of these people who bought at those very high prices, when we were warning at the time, we said at the time last year, this is not a good time to buy because, at 69,000, it's so overstretched. And there was a very strong risk of a drop or a crash. When you see television programs saying how to become rich in Bitcoin or crypto, that's the sign. Oh man, that's a very big warning.
So, joining us today is the legendary Alessio Rastani, investor, trader, YouTuber, and founder of leadingtrader.com. Alessio, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Thanks for inviting me on your program. I appreciate it.
Great. So, Alessio, in regards to Bitcoin, we've been literally following since November last year. What are your thoughts about it now? Are we close to the bottom? Did we reach it? Or is there still plenty of room to fall? And also, what about the current all-time high? Is this our cycle top, or is this cycle yet to show us the true top and bottom?
Yeah, it's a very good question. The way I approach all markets, including Bitcoin, is looking, I always like to zoom out. I don't want to go through any charts today because there's no need. I think most people are aware of what I'm going to refer to in this video. I mean, for example, everybody knows we made a top in 20,000 or 19,000, approximately 19,891, which is near 20K. And we know that the most recent low on Bitcoin was about 17,500, although that may change. We will see. But the bottom line is that I think a lot of people are asking this question, are we at the bottom or not? I think we're getting close to it. I think we're getting close to a situation where I think we may eventually see, although not aware. Capitulation, I mean, just literally just means, you're giving up. So there's a lot of giving up by people. The thing is, people think that capitulation means the bottom, the exact bottom. That's not the case. I made a video about this recently. And I explained that when we say capitulation, we're not talking about one single level called the bottom. No, it's a region, it's a zone where it's more likely, it's more probable that Bitcoin is likely to find a bottom eventually. So those are the levels. For example, in 2018, when Bitcoin dropped from 20,000, then it dropped to 6,000 over the next several months. And then at 6,000, it found a floor temporarily before it dropped again in late 2018, November, December, all the way down towards 3,000, about 3,200, I think it was 3,200, 3,100. And the thing is, you could argue that that entire region from really 4,000 to 3,000, anything that region or lower was the capitulation zone, the bottom there. A good opportunity for people to step in and buy small amounts. In the year 2020, after the major crash that occurred in 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic crisis and all that, I did that with the stock market, and also I did that with Bitcoin at about $6,000. I didn't get the exact bottom in the year 2020, but I started getting bullish and accumulating at about 6,000, 7,000, because I saw, and here's the thing, I would say the safest thing to do, and I mentioned this also in my recent video, I would say the safest thing to do, and Bitcoin may potentially go lower, again, that remains to be seen. But even though I think that we're getting closer to a bottom, I think that when Bitcoin dropped to 20K, and went slightly below it, I mean, it went slightly below 20K to 17,000, 18,000. To me, that was the beginning of the likely capitulation zone, the beginning of it. Even if Bitcoin goes a bit lower, I don't think it's going to go all the way to 10,000. It might go to 12K or 10K. It's possible, but I think that I think it's less probable. I think it's less likely. I'm seeing a lot of comments all over YouTube and social media. The majority of people are extremely bearish, and they're expecting a lot lower prices. I'm seeing a lot of comments on social media on YouTube saying they will buy when Bitcoin has dropped, to 10K, 12K, something like that, a lot lower prices. And they still wouldn't buy. People would still say, no, I'll wait until it goes to 5K and 4K, and then I'm going to buy it 5K, 4K. Yeah. And when it goes to 5K, 4K, they'll say, no, I'll wait until it goes to 1,000. It's like it never ends. It's like, and that's the thing. That's one of the ways you can find out you're getting closer and closer to capitulation and a bottom, is when people have no interest in buying. They have no interest. They're not bullish. They're all very bearish. The sentiment is very negative. They're right. I'm not saying that they're definitely wrong. They might be right, but I do think it's a sign. It's a sentiment. Although I should say I don't think they're right. Just let you know. Even though I'm saying they might be right, I personally doubt it. I don't think we're going that low. So my point is we're reaching a situation now for a lot of reasons. I've explained it recently in another video. Just the sentiment getting so destroyed, people just giving up. There was already signs. I think Glassnode mentioned holders who sold their Bitcoins when Bitcoin dropped below 20K. That I think we are getting closer. There's a lot of support levels. I mean, there's a long-term trend line. If you actually look at a chart of Bitcoin from, I think, 2015, you can actually draw a trend line, and you will see Bitcoin touch that trend line recently. Just when it fell to 17,000, 18,000, we touched this trend line on the Coinbase chart. The Coinbase chart shows us very clearly a nice rising trend line on a logarithmic chart. You can just imagine that in your head, 18,000, 17,000, which I think was a very important level. Now we'll see if that level holds. We'll see if it holds. If it holds, I think if we hold about 18K, if we hold it, and as long as that level holds, and if we see a higher low. So for example, what happened, if you look at the chart, you'll see that what happened was when Bitcoin dropped to 17,000, it bounced. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. We had a bounce in the last couple of weeks. So it went from 17,000 back up to about 21,000, okay? Near 22,000, we've had a retracement. We've had another drop in the last few days to about 18,000. I think it went just near 18,000 or thereabouts, just below 19,000, 18,000. So that's a second low we've made. Sorry, I beg your pardon. We've made here's the bottom line. My point is that if Bitcoin manages now to take out the recent high we made near 22K, if Bitcoin can get above 22K and move higher towards 20, probability that a likely uptrend is beginning, because now that would give us a higher low, right? So let me just repeat that point. We've made one low already at 17,500 approximately, then a bounce, then a slightly higher low, although that remains to be confirmed. We shall see. That was about 19,000, 18,000. So if Bitcoin can remain above the June high, the June lows and low, directly above the recent high that it made near 22,000, that would give us a higher low. And that would be a good sign, because a higher low is the first initial sign of an uptrend, and the first initial sign that maybe we're trying to bottom here. Okay. And that's the safest thing to do, because it's a bit dangerous to try to call a bottom in this situation at the moment, because at the moment we don't have an uptrend. So even if we are in the capitulation zone, which I think we are, my point is that the safest thing to do at the moment is, instead of guessing where the bottom is, just wait for a slightly higher low. Okay. And a higher low, I think, eventually will come. Again, I think if Bitcoin can manage to go to 22K, 23K in the next few weeks, that would give us a higher low, in my view. The other alternative is if Bitcoin, and I say if Bitcoin, very strong move down, let's say to 15,000, or let's say at worst case scenario, let's say 12K. 12K is a region that Gareth Soloway was talking about, trader Gareth Soloway I talked to recently. So, I mean, if you make a severe, fast move towards those lower levels, then yeah, you might see a much more severe capitulation at those levels too, as long as it happens very quickly. But again, the way I'm seeing it right now, I think that those lower levels like 10K or 12K potentially are becoming less likely. The main point is for your people, for your audiences, that instead of trying to guess where the bottom is, I think it's too dangerous to try to guess where the bottom is. Instead, wait for the sign of an uptrend. Wait for a higher low. So I do think we're getting closer. I think there are definitely signs that people are beginning to give up, and I can see comments on social media already. People always saying we're going to go lower and lower prices. So I see a lot of comments all over YouTube saying, no, we're going to 10K. Usually when everybody is not interested in buying, very few people actually interested in buying or being bullish. The majority is everybody fearful and seems to be extremely negative and bearish. Again, for me, this is a good sign. It's a positive sign. So usually in a situation like this, there are two things people can do. I mean, there's one strategy. One strategy is to start small positions, building a small position, not too much risk. The other strategy, I think, which is safer, a lot safer, is just to wait, be patient until the price shows an uptrend, shows the signs of an uptrend. And the way you know you have an uptrend is just wait for a higher low. So basically, what you want to see is, okay, so bottom line is we made one low, one extreme low, the panic low at 17,500. We've had a bounce in the last couple of weeks. In the last few days, we had another low, not the lower low, but just a slightly higher low near 18,800 approximately there, but we shall see. My point is that if Bitcoin can hold above 18,000 and then move up higher above 23,000, I think you would begin to see the first sign of a potential uptrend or a higher low in the price. That's what you want to wait for, okay? Once you have a slightly higher low in the price, okay, then you have the first sign of an uptrend. People might say, well, okay, what if you have a higher low in the price, an uptrend, and then it goes lower again? That's true. I think going to your second question, that's always possible, by the way. Going to your second question about the cycles and all that, what's important to understand is Bitcoin dropped from 69,000 all the way to 20,000 being the highs of 2017. And usually when price drops back down to test a previous high, like 20,000 back in 20, level of support, it's an important floor for the market. So I think I would like to see Bitcoin trying to form a bottom near the levels we fell down to, the region between 19,000, just below 20,000, the region between 19,000 to, well, I mean, anywhere from 19,000 to about 15,000. All right. But the bottom line is that I would like to see Bitcoin trying to establish some kind of a bottom, sideways consolidation in the next several weeks, because a bottoming formation can take time. It doesn't happen in a single day or in a single week. It can take time. Mm-hmm. So I want to see Bitcoin trying to stabilize here, trying to slow down, low volatility, and trying to form this consolidation sideways move for a few weeks in this region, because we fell down to 20,000, 19,800 approximately there, which is 2017 highs. So I want to see it trying to form a base. And then what I want is a breakout above 22, 23. Okay. If that can happen, yeah, that could increase the odds that we're likely trying to bottom here in the price. But that remains to be seen. And as for cycles, I would say, if you're asking me, if your question is, can we go back to the previous highs? Or I think your question is soon, in the next few weeks and months, can we go back up and retake the highs of 69K? Is that what you're asking, right?
Yes.
Or I think the other alternative is, or no, we just made a high there, and then we're going to see a lot lower prices for the next several next several months and years. Mm-hmm. That depends, I think, a lot on the economy or the stock market. put it that way. It depends if the stock market is the economy going into a recession, or is this or is the or is the stock market about to recover and go back up again? In other words, continue the bull market. So a lot depends on that question. Because here's the thing: if the economy goes into a recession soon, in the next few months, this year, put it that way, if the economy goes into a recession this year, or it becomes very difficult for the stock, it becomes difficult for the stock market. I think put it this way: if we're going into a recession this year, then that means the stock market could be going into a long-term bear market as well. Okay. And that makes it very difficult. I would say almost unlikely for Bitcoin to go back above 69K this year. So I'm waiting to see what happens on the stock market, on the S&P soon in the next few weeks. If the stock market can bottom and go back above 4,200, okay, on the S&P, that is. So if we see a bottom on the stock market, which I think is probable, because there are a lot of signs, there are some signs that show that this current downward trend in the stock market could be ending soon. There are some positive signs. It's not definite, it's not certain, but I'm beginning to see there are signs there. We need confirmation. Strong move. We see a strong rally above 4,200, yeah, the June highs. Then I think this would give a higher probability that the bull market in stocks can continue, and that would be a bullish sign for the economy. That would be a good sign for the economy, and it also would be a good sign for Bitcoin. So I would say your question depends probably a lot on what happens to the stock market, and also I would say on the economy, because those things do impact Bitcoin in a recession. So if the economy becomes terrible and people begin to lose jobs, if unemployment rises, and if companies go bankrupt, if you see bankruptcies and people losing jobs, and the less money people have, well, the less money that's go into Bitcoin, because people don't have enough money to go up to buy Bitcoin or crypto or stocks or anything. And you see a correlation. You can see a correlation between stock market and Bitcoin. So I think we need to be patient. Personal view is this is difficult, but I think it's very difficult because at the moment I'm neutral on the stock market. Okay. So I'm also neutral for Bitcoin as well, although I'm beginning to buy Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong here. I've been buying Bitcoin below 20,000. Small amounts, not huge, small amounts. So I bought some, might buy more if it drops further down. I might buy small amounts, but I'm not risking too much here. I'm not risking too much because I could be wrong here. So my point is that once I see the stock market, the S&P, show me the sign of an uptrend, or at least breaking out above the June highs, which is if the S&P, the stock market, if they go above the June highs, 4,200, that would be a very good sign for Bitcoin as well. It's a good look for Bitcoin in my view as well. So let's wait and let's be patient for that. Whether it's going to happen that way, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I really don't know. I'm neutral at the moment on my view on the stock market until I see something definite, until I see something much more substantial. Another thing that could make me bearish. Now, what could make me bearish is this. Let's say it forms a base near 20K or 17,000. Okay. Let's say it forms a base near 20K, 17,000, and just goes up and down sideways for the next several months. Okay. And then makes another low, keeps dropping lower. That would make me worried. That would be a concern, because that would show it's not trying to form a bottom, but actually it's beginning to look like a much more long-term downtrend. Okay. If that happened, because if Bitcoin spends several weeks and months, several months going sideways in a base and then drops again lower, that's not something you want, because it shows that it's not holding that support, the very important support at the 20K to 15K range. All right, If that does not hold, that could be a very dangerous sign for Bitcoin in the long term. And much about that. I don't want to scare your viewers. My point is, let's just be patient. Let's see what happens in the stock market and the economy in the next few months. I would say this: I'm more positive than I'm negative. I'm more positive, and the reason I'm positive is I'm seeing so much fear in the market right now. So much fear, so much negativity. All the comments on Bitcoin is very negative. People are not interested in buying. People calling for lower prices. It's a positive sign for Bitcoin, at least in the long term. Maybe not in the short term, but at least in the long term.
You also mentioned recession. So there's almost everywhere talks about the upcoming recession, that it is imminent, right around the corner. Sure. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree, or are you a contrarian, at least for now?
No, I mean, I think the recession thing it's definitely going to happen for sure. I mean, it might happen. It might. I mean, there are some signs. There are some reports. There are some signs that say it might start in September of this year. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but there are some signs. And I think the best clue is the stock market. The stock market usually will tell us before the economy does. So let's see what happens. I mean, if the stock market goes below, and that's an if, 300, 3,200, then yeah, that's a strong warning that a recession is going to happen. But that remains to be seen. I think that remains to be seen. I'm skeptical. I don't think that's going to happen so quickly. I think personally, I think a recession is more likely to start next year, maybe not this year. Perhaps by the end of next year, 2023. I would be surprised if it started like this year. But again, I should have some reports that say maybe a recession could start September this year. I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. Because I would personally like to see it. Put it this way: I still would prefer. I would prefer the stock market to continue the uptrend, continue the bull market, continue to make new highs, and then drop next year. Not at these levels, if you understand what I mean. So I prefer to bet against the market at much, much higher prices rather than these lower prices here. But we shall see. We shall see. There is a video I'm going to make very soon about a specific signal which can predict recessions and bear markets much better than most other systems and methods. But going back to you, and I'll make that video soon. Again, it's not an if, it's when. So a recession very likely is going to happen, I think, in the next few years, maybe the next couple of years. But I don't think it's going to start this year. I actually think it's more likely to happen perhaps towards the end of next year, 2023. But then I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong. And if the S&P, if the stock market were to drop, let's say to, again, as I mentioned, 3,300, 3,200, then yeah, I would have to change my mind, because that would getting started for a recession. But I don't think that's going to, I doubt it. I doubt that's going to happen this year. But we shall see. One
of many things I appreciate about your channel is the inclusion of psychology in your videos. You've also made several videos exclusively about psychology. How is psychology connected to trading and investing, and how important is it in this regard?
So going to your question on psychology, it's a very good question. Markets are driven ultimately, I mean, price action is driven by psychology, fear and greed, panic. You have this cycle where you have people optimistic, more optimistic, greedy, buying more, and then euphoria, people just absolutely excited. I mean, we saw this last year when Bitcoin was hitting 60,000, 69,000. Probably, yeah. So, and this is the thing. The problem is, in that kind of, unfortunately, most people are not skilled in protecting themselves against risk. And people bought at the worst time last year, like when it was over 50 to 69,000. A lot of people were buying. Now that's okay. The problem is most of these people don't care about, well, what if they're wrong and price goes against them? They have no stop loss. They have no risk protection, which means that a lot of these people who bought at those very high prices, when we were warning at the time, we said at the time last year, this is not a good time to buy because, at 69,000, it's so overstretched. And there was a very strong risk of a drop or a crash. And psychology is important here because, again, when everybody is bullish, when everybody is bought, when everybody is, when you see television programs saying how to become rich in Bitcoin or crypto, that's the sign. Oh man, that's a very big warning that this is programs on TV. I saw this television programs and how you can become rich and make money in Bitcoin. This is when Bitcoin was at 55 to 69,000. I think it was 69,000. And people should remember that the way psychology plays in this is that if everybody has bought, if everybody is bullish, and if everybody is expecting higher prices, then there's nobody left to buy, right? So if everybody's already bought Bitcoin, everybody buying, then there's no money, there's no more. So you need some energy, you need some more demand, more juice to push the price up, right? So the problem is that if everybody is already in the market, if everybody's bought Bitcoin, everybody is bullish, everyone is expecting higher prices. The problem then is, that's what's called a saturated market. Saturated. So there's no more buyers left. There's very few buyers left. Okay. That means there are only sellers. There's no more money or juice to push the price up. And that's when markets crash. Okay. It's the same thing that happened in every market bubble. Every bubble in history, the same thing. When everybody buys in near the top of the market, that's any kind of small bad news can push the price down. Slightest bad news can push the price down. I don't actually think that news is the reason why price drops. Bad news, no. It's more the fact that buyers left. That means there's only sellers, and that's what causes the price to drop. And when price drops and crashes, right, then the sentiment, the psychology changes. The psychology changes from being greedy to fearful, to being panicked. Why? Because people are losing money. People begin to lose money, and people watch the news. They hear everybody else. They're saying, maybe it's a bad time now. So the sentiment goes from bullish suddenly to being scared, panic. And that's when usually markets bottom, when there's no more sellers left. So when price crashes, absolutely scared and panicky about buying. Again, that's when there's no more sellers. Everybody is sold, right? And if everybody is sold, then how can price go lower? It can't go lower because there's no more sellers, or there's very few sellers left. And that's when you see buying opportunities. That's when buyers then get in and push the price up. So that's the best way to understand psychology and the way it plays an important part. I think perhaps a good book on psychology, well, actually, this is more of a book on trading psychology, but I do like it quite a lot. People can look into it. It's called Trading in the Zone, which is really about psychology, but it's more about trader psychology, not so much about the psychology of the market. That's one book on on market psychology. I can't think of another one right. The book's by see if I can find it, by Jack Schwager. I can't see it right now in front of me, but Jack Schwager is also another great source on this. And the last thing, Daniel, is it's really important to keep an open mind. Keep an open mind and never become fixed in your view as to where the market can go. Okay? Because anybody has an opinion. Everyone has an opinion, right? Have another opinion. Everyone has different opinions about Bitcoin or stock market. But actually, there's only one opinion that really matters more than anything, and that's the price. the chart, the price action itself. Bitcoin eventually is going to tell us what it wants to do. Okay. So don't worry so much about other people's opinions. Okay. What I find very useful is forget people's opinions and just focus. What is the chart saying right now? Okay. But by all means, listen to other people. I'm not saying don't listen to other people's opinions. What I'm saying is don't think that their opinion is certain, 100% definite. No, it's just an opinion. It's a view, but be open-minded and always ask yourself, okay, what if it doesn't happen this way? What if the opposite happens? Always try to think about the certainty of something, and that, so basically be prepared to change your mind, because the market might do the exact opposite of what you're saying, what you're thinking. So, and that in my opinion is much more useful.
Alessio, thank you. Also, just one more thing. I really love your videos when you go abroad. And I really hope that one day you'll visit Slovenia and do some videos here.
I would love to. There's a famous Slovenian philosopher that I listen to sometimes. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's very interesting. His name is Slavoj Žižek. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Slavoj Žižek, yes.
Zizek, Slavoj Zizek, yeah, he's very interesting. I like listening to him. He's from Slovenia, I believe, and I think I've listened to a few of his lectures in Slovenian, which is interesting as well. Oh. So definitely, thank you for that. Next time I come to, if I come to Slovenia, definitely I'll make some films. And
you are most welcome. Again, thank you so much. Have a great day, and I hope I see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on your show. Cheers.